Welcome, another day, another Cybersecurity Q&A live. Welcome on board with Marius, myself, who's been in cybersecurity for 10 years. And as I always say, guys, there's a lot of misinformation out there about cybersecurity. There's a lot of people who are not sure where and how to start their cybersecurity journey. So we started these live streams to first of all answer some of the questions about cybersecurity career. What do you need, what it takes to get into cybersecurity, what skills you need, always say, I think, there's boot camps, there's people who are thinking about degrees, who are thinking about certificates that are not necessarily needed to do in order to get into cybersecurity. I think there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of lies been told, and people not really sure how and where to start. So hopefully within the next hour, we'll try to answer some of the questions and remove some of the misinformation and some of the ideas about what it takes to get into cybersecurity. So Jay says, do you need maths for cybersecurity? No, you definitely don't need maths, Jay. That is for sure. As always, guys, I'm live across a number of platforms. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Just be mindful that sometimes chat gets really busy. So I'll try and get to your answers. Be patient. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Chris says, are there any jobs that's in cybersecurity that can be done online? I'm not sure what you mean, Chris. Well, cybersecurity job, anything with cybersecurity is done in some shape or form being online, because most of the devices are connected. Most of the companies that you protect are online. So yeah, you can do job remotely, of course. Yeah. There are plenty of jobs that can be done remotely. I mean, it's getting a bit harder, I guess, post-COVID. There's a lot of companies who are willing and wishing people to come back to the office. So it's not probably as pertinent as it was a couple of years ago, but there's still plenty of jobs that you can do remotely. Braxy says, in 2 years, what? In 2 years in cybersecurity? I have no idea what does that mean. User, if you're going to keep spamming the chat, I'm going to throw you out. I said stop spamming the chat. Why you need to repeat the same question 25 times? You definitely don't need a degree for cybersecurity, that is for sure. I think there's a lot of people wasting time doing degrees for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity degree is definitely not a necessity. In terms of certs, again, you don't need many certs, especially when you're starting out. I think, Security Plus is more than sufficient. It's all about skills. So building a home labs, that's the most important. And, everyone's talking AI is going to replace people. It's not going to replace. Yes, it will make some roles less likely, but, I think the most important thing and the way AI is getting deployed, you can't run AI without a human in the loop. So, it's all about acquiring the necessary skills. Should I do a T level in cybersecurity, which will give me 45 days work in cybersecurity field? Well, any experience you can get, Ronaf, is always going to be handy. I don't really know what a T level is, but, experience is hard to combine nowadays. So, it's always good to get. Any cybersecurity job, Chris, can be done remotely. Any job. There is no specific role that is remote or not remote. Finance says, as a beginner with no experience but wants to learn cybersecurity, what do I need? you need to figure out what you want to do in cybersecurity finance first of all, so then you can build yourself a training plan of what skills to acquire. Because so many people I see, they training and jumping from one thing to another without any clear direction. You're just wasting time. Do you need to be really good in coding to get into the role? No. Coding is only applicable to very few roles in cybersecurity, and that doesn't happen at the beginner level. That's only very advanced people. Like, you probably do some coding in security engineering and ethical hacking, but other than that, most roles you don't touch any coding. Sidewinder says, what's your history in cybersecurity look like? Yeah, sure. I can answer that. So I've been in cybersecurity side for 10 years. So I started 10 years ago in cybersecurity. I was starting my career working in SOCs. I then went to manage, architect, and build SOCs for organizations. I wrote my master's dissertation in how to build SOC using MITRE ATT&CK to make sure that SOC is relevant and aligned to specific threats for your organization. I then went into cloud security engineering and cloud security architecture, working across all three major clouds. Then I went into building DevSecOps frameworks and DevSecOps programs for businesses, building pen testing strategies. And then from then, 3 years ago, I moved into a leadership. So I'm currently a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and I've been working for a fintech for 3 years now in that position, as well as I got my own cybersecurity consultancy business where I provide virtual CISO and fractional CISO services to other businesses. And obviously, do this, trying to help guys to get into cybersecurity. I got a bunch of roadmap videos on YouTube, loads of other stuff. So, trying to give my time and hopefully, help you guys as well. So that's kind of briefly what I've been doing and did. Let me get back to where we were. Will cyber degree teach me actually skills though? No, it won't. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said cyber degree is worthless, because most of the cyber degrees will teach you is a theory. Yeah, no problem. You like France? I don't know what that means. Is it worth that I try to become a pen tester? You can always try to become a pen tester, but I always say, look, pen testing is not an entry-level role. So going from zero into pen testing is near impossible. That's why I always suggest people start somewhere else. Is experienced cyber analyst hard to come by? It really depends, because I think, Valucci, it's hard to answer that question, because experience, it kind of fluctuates in a couple of things. Because when you're looking for experienced people, I think sometimes, and most businesses, that's how they fail. They look for people who have skills in specific tools. I don't really care about whether you know how to use that tool or not. I want to care how you think, whether you understand things under the hood, whether you can understand, how to configure and how actually security works. Because that's the biggest problem. I think, we still live in a world where I see so many times that people spending more money to buy more tools to fix more issues, instead of trying to understand what is the root cause and how we can prevent that from happening in the future. How likely can I get a job in cybersecurity without a degree? Very likely. I didn't get a degree until I was 7 years in cybersecurity, and still I think that I got a master's degree, but I think it was a waste of time, and I spent loads of money on cybersecurity master's degree, which is worthless. I don't think it gave me anything. So the skills that I learned on the job are way more beneficial than what I did in that university. Hey, Oliver. Leila Bella, hi, white, where? I don't know if there's someone here. I can't, for some reason, during chat, I can't post links in here, but there is some videos on my feed that I share the Telegram community links. Can digital forensics be done remotely? Highly unlikely, StoneG, because most of the time you'll need access to physical devices to take images and take evidence and things like that. So not likely. There's still a lot. Well, define loads, Femi. They are jobs. I don't know whether it's loads or not, and that's very dependent on which part of the world you live in, and stuff like that. Atref says it's a. I don't know what that means. Goosey says, is it realistic to get a job in CS without a degree? Yeah, of course. It's very realistic. You don't need a degree to get a job in cybersecurity. Degree is pretty much worthless. All degree teaches you is how theory. You can learn theory from YouTube. What's a starting job for penetration tester? There is no starting job for penetration tester. Sysadmin has got nothing to do with penetration testing. So that's why I say you just get into cybersecurity and then you can move into penetration testing afterwards. But there is no pre-described specific path for it. How to start in the industry? Well, learn the necessary skills, get the necessary certificate, build a good CV, build a home lab, and that's how you start. Docu says, you think you should choose cybersecurity in 26? I mean, AI hits hard or not? No. I think I think there's still plenty of cybersecurity jobs, and I think I think the biggest problem is why most of the people think, because you guys heard on a grapevine somebody talking absolute nonsense. The problem is, and I keep saying that, and that's why I do these lives, because the misinformation and the lies that you guys been hearing is useless. I said, for example, I made a video the other day, how many people have been roped in to do CEH. CEH is the worst certificate you can do for pen testing, the absolute worst, and it costs fortune. Like, it's a waste of time. Like, you guys been told, do a boot camp, do a degree, get these 10 certificates and you're gonna get the job. That's absolute nonsense. That's all been lies, guys. And I keep getting every messages. What certificate should I do next? Certificates does not do anything. Certificates prove that you can memorize and answer multiple choice question. It's all about skills. Once you get Security Plus, you don't need anything else for an entry-level cybersecurity job. Then it's all about skills. It's all about acquiring skills. And I talk about, guys, how to do CVs, how to apply for jobs, how to do proper interviewing techniques. You guys, I see time and time again, somebody, done Google free cybersecurity certificate and they think they're ready for the cybersecurity job. Not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. Do junior cybersecurity jobs offer training for successful candidate? Yes, they do, but nobody's gonna hold your hand and teach you everything from scrap. You need to come with specific skills. They'll teach you how to use specific tools that they have, but it's all about how you're gonna apply yourself. What's the age for someone like to get thick into cybersecurity? Because I would love to join. There is no age, people think, it's too late. I started my cybersecurity career when I was 30. So, unrelenting VR. Can I get a job in a field without a degree? Of course you can. What certs do you recommend for beginners? Only one, Security Plus. That's all you need. Docu, the best resource for ethical hacking? Either Hack the Box or vulnerable machines from VulnHub or DVWA. That's all you need. You only need Kali Linux and then a bunch of vulnerable machines. Hi, what should I expect when studying cybersecurity during my degree that most people misunderstood? There's nothing that most people misunderstood, but the biggest problem is when you do a degree, you're only going to learn theory. You're not going to be anywhere near close ready to getting into the cybersecurity job. So you need to build yourself a home lab and acquire the necessary skills. Can I become a beast in cybersecurity for a year through hard work? Of course. Total noob here. How do I start exploring the industry? By doing research and figuring out what roles there are, what requirements each role have, and figure out what you want to do and which role would be the perfect for you. Sue says, hello, I'm in my last year in my high school. Is it worth to get a bachelor in cybersecurity? No, definitely not worth. Do you need to have any cloud knowledge for cybersecurity? Yes, you do. Yeah, most organizations, 98% of organizations are hybrid now. So they use some form of, a little bit or a lot of cloud. So yeah. What's a great way to get my foot in the door? By acquiring necessary skills, by getting Security Plus certificate, understanding networking, operating systems, hardware, building a home lab. That's how you get in the door. Suggest my best project for my final year. I can't do that. There is no app that you can teach. What level of maths do we need? 0 level. You don't need any maths. What country are you from? I'm in UK. Based on your knowledge, is it business degree in demand? Only for leadership positions. Otherwise, you don't need business degree. Not in cybersecurity whatsoever. What certifications would you recommend to get? Only one, Scooby. You only need Security Plus. What GRC related certs actually teach you the skills needed? There isn't many GRC related certs, but I highly recommend always exploring ISO 27001 lead auditor NOAA and looking at CCSK. What is he saying? What networking fundamentals should I focus to get in cybersecurity? CJ, you need to look at Network Plus. Just jump on Professor Messer in YouTube and watch Network Plus videos. That's all you need. No, I wasn't unemployed. I was working in physical security before I jumped into cybersecurity, CJ. I do not teach finance. I do not have time for teaching, I'm afraid. Tools. You don't necessarily need tools, Noah, for GRC, but you need to learn things like NIST CSF, NIST RMF. You need to understand GDPR. You need to understand risk management. You need to understand various compliance requirements. That's what you need, but there is no specific tools. Are you in favor of developing AI with Linux distributions? Yeah. I mean, AI is always going to be important skills. I do myself, I did a lot of work training various models. I'm going through a course now where I'm training models, improving models, and then going to jump into LangGraph and learn and exploring agent orchestration frameworks and MCP frameworks and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good place to start. But again, you guys, you have to get there. There's no point studying everything under the sun trying to catch up. What do I do if I get a cybersecurity role while I'm still studying software engineering in university? Well, you have the choice to make, Sia, whether you want to continue your studies or go and work. Yeah, TryHackMe is a good platform to start acquiring skills. Especially, I always say, for example, to people, when you start out, TryHackMe has a pre-security path, so you can couple that while watching A+ videos. There is a SOC path. There is, I think, Cybersecurity 101 path. So there's some good stuff to go alongside your studies, and get to understand the material behind the theory. So yeah, that's good. That's always good. That's always good. What's next? Do you suggest bug bounty or get a job? And can I do them both? Of course you can do them both, but bug bounty is quite tough and competitive. You need to be advanced pen testing you have to get advanced pen testing skills to get into bug bounty. But yeah, you can obviously explore and try and, watch, for example, John Hammond CTF videos and learn loads of stuff. There are people who do bug bounty. I think, guys, we live in a world where, the amount of information or free information on places like YouTube, it's crazy how much you can learn. Rewind 20 years ago, you could never learn that just by, sitting at home watching videos. Izzy says, how can someone without cyber skills even lead a cyber department? Does that happen often? Of course. When you're leading, you're not necessarily, well, it's not necessarily that, for example, you don't need to be deeply technical knowledgeable if you become a leader. You need to be able to manage people. You need to be able to set a trajectory. You need to align cybersecurity initiatives to business goals. There are CISOs who came through a GRC route. They're not necessarily very technical. When you become a CISO like myself, I don't really have time to do all the technical bits. I need to set the strategy, set budgets, build initiatives and programs that aligns to the business goals. Do you know the Lex black box for cybersecurity? No, I have not heard about that, Wasa. Where do you do virtual labs? On your laptop, Yellow. That's, simple. You can obviously find stuff to do it online, but the best one is just, you just install VirtualBox and then you can build any virtual lab that you want. Do you need to have any cloud? Oh, we already answered that. What's the best cert to get? Security Plus, that's the best. What do you mean by building a home lab? So what I mean, Maria, is, so you need to be able to, so home lab is very simple. You get yourself virtualization software, so whether it's VirtualBox, VMware, Proxmox, any of them, and then you can install virtual machines on it. So you can build Kali Linux, which is going to be your attacking machine. You can then build Security Onion, which is your defensive machine, or SIM. You can install also Wazoo in it. Wazoo can act as, Wazoo has its own SIM and its own EDR, and then you can download ISO images from OneHub of various vulnerable machines. So then what you can do, then you can practice and do various projects. So for example, you can run Metasploit and do various attacks on the vulnerable machine that's from OneHub. Then you can drop in Wireshark and look how attacks look like from network perspective. You can look how attacks look like from EDR, from Wazoo perspective. Then you can send the logs into your SIM and build rules and analytics to detect those attacks. You can, drop in OpenVARs and do vulnerability assessment. The skills that you're going to learn are endless. It's just about, applying yourself. But that's what I mean. Can you recommend a community or industry for internship? Not really, but I guess I would say just, hang around, find Discord servers, join cybersecurity Reddit communities. There's, ever how much programming? 0. In the beginning, it's 0. Do you think India is beast in cybersecurity? Define beast. They obviously have great people and great skills. Probably every other person in India works in some level in IT. So yeah, they're quite advanced. But obviously, the leading cybersecurity sort of niches and products that we come from is Israel and San Francisco. How does ISO 27001 help in cybersecurity? Well, it does a couple of things. ISO 27001 is an industry recognized standard that means that you build information security management system and you are continuously improving and evolving your cybersecurity program. Also, you get accreditation. So obviously that means if you work with other businesses and clients, they will trust your security more than if you don't have it. There are also, I think, 98 cybersecurity controls that you need to measure yourself against and evaluate whether you are going to have them or not, and things like that. Please give me CEH exam vouchers. I can't, and as I said, CEH is useless, and I don't have exam vouchers. So why would you want CEH if I just said it's the worst certificate ever, Addy? CJ says, do you recommend working in a startup or a small company for your first job? Yes, I mean, not you want to work in a fairly. I think there's two things I always talk about the differences between big company and small. When you work for a really big company, you're only going to work in very small part of cybersecurity. If you work for a smaller company, the chances are you're going to get more responsibilities and more exposure to learn skills. So while you're probably going to earn less, but you're going to learn more. So I always say early in the career you want to learn more, and then later in the career you want to earn more. So yeah, that's how you should probably think about that. But yeah, small businesses is great for that. Why are the colleges struggling to properly prepare a student for cybersecurity role they are studying? I think the problem is obviously universities and colleges, they have limited exposure and limited resources to do enough labs and hands-on skills. And secondly, I think the biggest problem in there is if you understand how long it takes to build a cybersecurity program for university, it takes about 5 years until that program is ready to be studied by students. And if you think how cybersecurity moves fast, by the time you do the course is 5 years out of date. So it's very hard to keep up and keep changing it. So that's kind of a couple of the reasons. Apple says, can I ask a question about Metasploit payloads? You probably can, but I probably am not the best person to answer the question, but you can definitely go. What do you think about certification 𝐶𝐲+? It depends what you're going to get it for. If that's your first, if you haven't got a job and you just want to add more certificates to your portfolio, then I wouldn't waste money on 𝐶𝐲+. I have the opportunity to get AZ900, SC200, and SC900 for free. Are they worth it? Yes, SC200 is definitely worth it because SC200 is specific security operations analyst certificate by using Microsoft tools. So any organization that uses Microsoft tools such as Sentinel, Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Identity, you're going to learn all about these tools and ecosystems and how to deploy and run them. So yeah, SC200 is a great cert. Hi 1010. How do you break into cyber GRC? Same as any other cyber, acquiring the necessary skills, knowledge, and 1 or 2 certificates. That's how you do it. Or you're supposed to be really good maths for a CS degree, right? No. Why would you need maths for a cybersecurity degree? Do you need to have any cloud? We already answered that. Please, do you have a roadmap? Yes, Josh. Again, link on my bio description. There is a link to my YouTube. There is I've got currently 3 roadmaps. So there is a full roadmap for GRC, for cloud security engineering, and for SOC. I'm probably going to build some more roadmaps. I also released an interview video I released about how to upskill in AI and stuff like that. So just check it out. Would you suggest one starts with? Nicole, you start with by first of all, and the most important thing, figuring out what roles are there, what the role you would like to do, because then you can niche down and narrow down the skills that you need to learn instead of loads of people just studying everything. EJTPD certificate worth it or not? Worth it for what, Addy? There is no certificates that are worth it apart from maybe 1 or 2. All of the other ones are, unless your employer pays for it, don't waste your money doing tens of certificates. If I study cybersecurity at uni, is it better than doing computer science? No, Zishan, there is no point doing cybersecurity degree. Waste of money and time. Her Majesty, would you please make me understand the roadmap to get to the, get the voucher? What do you mean roadmap? There is no roadmap. You just go and buy the voucher. No, I'm currently not hiring, especially not hiring anything from Africa Sea, I'm afraid. I only hire people in the UK. Is it CS hard? Yes, CS is very hard. Sir Lancelot, currently I'm working as a platform vulnerability and patch management engineer. How much more do I need? What do you mean much more do you need? Do you need more for what? The question doesn't make sense, Lancelot, so if you can rephrase, I'll try and answer it. What certificates I went through? It's too long to list, Edgar. I've got about 30 certificates, but anything from CSSP to CSM, CKA, CKS, AZ500, A+, Net+, Sec+, Pentest+, CYSA+. What else I've done? EJPT. I don't remember half of them, but that's a long time ago. I haven't done any certificates in the last 3 or 4 years because once I got into leadership, I haven't done any certs. But remember, most of these certs I've done is because my job was paying for them. I wouldn't have wasted money on doing certs. I only got 1 or 2 certs before I got my first job, and then all work paid for it. What study materials do I need apart from Professor Messer vids for Network Plus? The only other thing you possibly need is Jason Dion's practice exams. That's all you need. Is pen testing good for future? Pen testing is good for future, but pen testing is not good for entry-level roles. Would the role in software development be taken over by AI? Some roles might be, some might not. Again, you have to remember, I always keep saying, the most important thing, no organization can still deploy AI without a human in the loop. So yes, loads of people are, companies are doing vibe coding, but none of these vibe coding built things can go into production environment. There still needs a human to review the code to, AI is no more than an assistant to a human developer. It's not someone that's going to replace a human developer. Are you coming to DEF CON in Singapore? No, it's too expensive. If somebody would pay for it, yeah, I would come. What should my portfolio look like? Only you can answer that, Koi. It's all about, just as I said, it's about building a home lab that I mentioned made up of, number of machines. But then it's about, doing various attacks. And actually, the most important thing is about, portfolio is about doing a proper write-up. So, GitHub, creating a README file. Every lab documented, screenshots. What did you do? Step by step. What have you learned from it? How it's applicable? Why did you do it this way? The key point is, as I, published a video earlier on TikTok, everyone's doing a home lab, but can you prove that you've done your home lab? Do you have a proper documentation about what you've done, how you've done it with screenshots that explains you understood what you've done instead of just copying and pasting something from the internet? There is no, I can't say there is a specific roadmap for pen testing, but what you need for pen testing, OSCP is a gold standard. You need to get to OSCP level for pen testing. CJ, what are your thoughts on DevSecOps? DevSecOps are great roles, but DevSecOps is, again, it's not an entry-level role, and it requires a lot of skills to get there. But yeah, DevSecOps is a great career path. Is it possible to get remote entry cybersecurity jobs? No, it's not possible. I just got my Security Plus certificate with AI in Python. Big fan of yours. Thanks, Jin. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. I'm currently asking someone who did office and information management at university, what can it cost him? Again. My lab has Kali machine, Windows Server, Windows client. I recently added Wazoo. Yeah, that's a good stuff. That's a good start. As I say, see, next thing to do is just download various VulnHub machines or from DWA and just try to exploit them. You can probably drop in there open vars, do vulnerability assessment and stuff like that. You don't need Python for networking USV, that's for sure. The Python is only used for ethical hacking and potentially in security engineering to automate tasks or build your own tools. Would you think about someone doing computer science specialization at cybersecurity? That doesn't make sense. What's your IP? Well, do I need to go to college for cybersecurity? No, you do not, to W. Do I need to go? No. Is CCNA good? Bilal says, I published a video the other day as well, Bilal. CCNA is good, but I always say, look, I don't think CCNA is needed for cybersecurity. CCNA is a network engineering certificate. It's for people who are going to build networks. We only need to understand how networks work. So I always say, why waste 2, 3, 4 months sometimes doing CCNA when you can just watch all the network plus videos and learn what you need. I think CCNA is always an overkill for cybersecurity. Kendricks, hi, I have cloud security architect 6 years plan I have made. Would you mind me showing? Yeah, you can show me. You can drop me a connection on LinkedIn and you can drop me in there or just DM me, Kendricks. Are you hiring juniors? Not currently, Cho, but I'm looking to see if I can get some money in the budget, maybe at some point in the future. Troy says, I'm in college right now and I want to get into cybersecurity career. Should I go to uni and study it? No, don't waste money and time, Troy. How much do you make? Let's just say I make well into the 6 figures. 𝐬𝐲𝐫𝐞. If I want to become a cybersecurity, what are the most important tech areas should I focus? Well, you need to learn networking. You need to understand how computers work, hardware and operating systems, and then you need to learn cybersecurity fundamentals. But there is no specific tech areas. Hi, Fred says, I'm working on a project about forensic on smartphone. What do you think about? Yeah, it's good. You probably, if you probably used FTK, then yeah, you can do loads of great stuff with forensic imaging and getting evidence out. Kurosaki says, I've done ISCCC CompTIA Security Plus certs. Where should I go from there? Build a home lab. That's the most important thing that you need to do, Kurosaki. Is the IT security field expanding and is it becoming the new main job? I think it's been a main job for a while, AOS, but it's I think what's changing now is obviously AI is disrupting the market a bit, but I think I always say AI is not going to replace people, but you probably moving into cybersecurity would be good to learn and understand how to use AI to some level degree, because it's always going to be helpful, because most organizations are moving to deploy AI. So learning how to secure, how to use AI is always going to be helpful in your, alongside all other skills that you guys are acquiring. How to start the journey. Go into my YouTube and enter in my bio. You have all of the roadmap videos in my YouTube, so you can figure out where to start. Adam says, I want to become cybersecurity. What are the most important? We already answered that. Please answer quickly. As I said, guys, I can't speed through stuff. If you don't want wait for answers, you don't need to ask questions, guys. It takes a lot of time. As I say, sometimes I got 60 messages in a row in a queue, so I can't answer all of them at once. Hi. Anyone searching experienced one from where to get experience without getting a job? Well, experience you can get from Home Lab. That's the way to go. What's your opinion on network cert? Do you mean Network Plus? I don't necessarily think you need a Network Plus certificate. You definitely need knowledge from it, but you don't need a certificate. So just watching Professor Messer videos, taking notes and understanding the material is enough. The only certificate you need is Security Plus, Kim. Any courses you recommend for third-party risk management? I don't think there are any courses for it specifically, Nats, but you probably want to explore, people who do GRC kind of materials and stuff and talk about it. I'm sure you can find stuff on YouTube for that. Any tips for someone getting into IT and cloud engineering? Learning the fundamentals. There are platforms where you can go and play around with cloud stuff. What was the one? I don't remember what's it called now, but yeah, there is some, getting hands-on as early as possible. Is CH good to have? No, Imad. CH is waste of money and time. Currently taking a course on Google Coursera. Cool. Can you break into cybersecurity without a help desk role? Of course you can, Bellissima. I've done it myself, and I know loads of people who have. So yeah, it's possible. Bilal, how's the job market at the moment when you freshly graduated? Job market is not going to be kind to you because, as I always say, university degree does not prepare you for a cybersecurity job. So, job market doesn't change whether you have a degree or not. Nemo, you don't need to go to college for cybersecurity. No, Emmy, I don't think studying in school and having a degree is worth it. It's very hard, Maria, to get a job in cybersecurity is very hard. I always say people have perceived misconceptions that they're going to get one certificate or they're going to get a degree and they're going to walk into a cybersecurity job. That's not the case. And that's why I'm trying to explain to people, it's really hard. But I'm trying to give you the skills, the knowledge, and how to get there. You just need to apply yourself. There is no remote jobs for freshers, Ade. Hey, just got there. Quick question. Do you need to go to college or get a degree? No, you don't. Aksasu, you don't. You definitely don't need a degree. 1 year experience. I'm not currently hiring, Imad. Not at the moment. Why shouldn't we go to study cybersecurity at university? Because, as I said, Peacemaker, look, university degree teaches you what? Theory. Why you go to university for 3 years, waste a fortune amount of money, when you probably can learn enough theory by watching Professor Messer, Network Plus and Security Plus videos, and probably covering all of that what you would have learned in university. So, I can do it at home, watching videos for 3 months versus going to university for 3 years. And probably if I build a home lab against and get Security Plus certificate, I have way more likely chance to get a job than you coming out of university with a degree. I can guarantee you that. Which is better, Splunk or Elastic? None of them is better, Sandys. I always have to think, I'm talking, there's another thing where you guys it's important to learn in cybersecurity. In terms of tools or certificates, none of them is better. All of them are dependent on a number of things. But the first thing is SIM. Splunk, Elastic, Wazoo, Azure, Sentinel, they all are SIMs. So as long as you learn one, the most important is you understand how SIM works, its concepts, its log ingestion, how to create analytic rules and things like that. You need to learn the concept. The specific tools are irrelevant because chances are that you're going to go into a company that's going to use a SIM that you haven't used before. But as long as you understand the concept, everything else is very easy to learn. So it doesn't matter whether it's Splunk or Elastic. Whatever you prefer to play at home, that's the one you use. How long have you been in cybersecurity? I've been 10 years, 8i. Marian, what are some free relevant certifications? Anything free is irrelevant, Marian. Alongside uni, cybersecurity. Building a home lab, HR. That's the most important. Hi, thoughts on CompTIA AI Plus news exam? I haven't looked at it in depth, Sanjay, so I can't really, comment much. But I guess anything that helps you learn about AI and how to secure AI, it's obviously going to be helpful. Now, what I would say though, just getting knowledge versus getting a certificate, because I always say, do not waste money on guys on certificate. All of these certificates, most of the time, they are just ways to these companies to get money from you for the false promises on this amazing 6-figure job. It's all about skills and knowledge. So you probably can find YouTube videos on CKA Plus and watch the videos. You don't need to go and pass the exam. Do you have a 90-day plan for becoming a cybersecurity analyst? Yeah, there was a video I published, I think this morning. It's obviously, ambitious. You're not going to become a cybersecurity analyst in 90 days, but you can definitely prepare and get enough knowledge and skills. Kurosaki says, what do you think is the best starting role where can I learn the most? Any generic cybersecurity analyst role, so not necessarily going to SOC, Kurosaki, but there are sort of generalist junior level cybersecurity roles that covers, a lot of tools, a lot of expertise, and you're going to learn a lot, especially if you end up in a smaller organization. So that's kind of thing. Misumuzi says, how can you pivot from being a SOC analyst to DevSecOps, and what qualification would you need? Again, you don't need necessarily qualifications if you want to get into DevSecOps, but what you need to know in DevSecOps, you need to learn a couple of things. For DevSecOps, you need to be able to not become a master, coder, but you need to, at some level, to be able to read code. Because otherwise, how can you teach developers how to secure that code if you can't even read it? So you need a bit of coding knowledge. You need to understand and learn how to deploy security tools in security pipelines. So static code analysis, dynamic code analysis tools, software composition analysis tools. You need to be able to teach and learn how to do threat modeling with developers. And you need to be a good communicator and to explain technical concepts to developers and why, these specific issues need to be resolved. So that's kind of the main thing. Do you use Termux on your phone? No, Ibrahim, I do not. Do you do mentorships? Belisma says. Again, Belisma, no, I do not, because I don't have time. So these hours, I normally do live stream every Monday and Wednesday. So this is my form of mentoring because, as I say, I get hundreds of messages every week, and I could never be able to help every single one. So this is my free mentoring hour with you guys during a live stream where I try to answer your questions and help you guys and guide you, because yes, we're talking about the very beginning of the journey, but remember, I've been in pretty much every single cybersecurity role for the last 10 years. So take the information, use the roadmaps on my YouTube and stuff like that, and then come back, ask, better advanced questions once you've done some of the stuff, and we're going to guide you and help you, and hopefully in 2026, guys, you're going to land your first cybersecurity job. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Best way to break into tech, no experience. As a simple Kim, I just kind of mentioned a few times, but just do not do certificates. Watch videos. A+, Network Plus, get the Security Plus certificate, all watching Professor Messer videos and booking Security Plus exam. Then building a home lab, and then watching my videos how to build the best CV, how to apply for jobs, 48-hour follow-up rule, how to do the interviews. That's how you get there. Home lab, skills, one certificate, and the rest knowledge. So my parents have registered me in a university, and I don't think I can change it anymore. I'm sure you can, Emmy. Unless you start, even if you started, you can always quit. I mean, I don't know where you are, but for example, in UK now, I'm sure most of you people seen, if you are from UK, in the news, people coming out of universities with 50, 60 grand debt. It's absolutely absurd. As I said, the paths I'm teaching you guys, you can do get Security Plus, which is about 350 quid. Try Hack Me subscription is about 10, 15 quid a month. Building a home labs, all you need is your laptop. As long as it has 16 gigabytes of RAM, you can build your home lab. So you can probably do the whole path into cybersecurity in, 6, 9, maybe 9 to 12 months, but spending only specifically dedicated to cybersecurity learning, 500 quid, $1,000, that's it. and you come from degree with thousands and thousands and thousands of debt. Is Wazoo good enough for an enterprise? There are some organizations that use open source tools, but you have to remember the one big difference is enterprises normally will not use open source tools, because that means you have to manage them. If there are vulnerabilities, there's no guarantee that's, you know, the maintainers of the repository is going to fix the vulnerabilities. So that's why normally enterprises will use enterprise level tools. Can I get a cybersecurity school, a good one online, and still apply online for a good job? I don't think so. One day and will work in your command. Hopefully, Elbad, hopefully. Dennis, unfortunately, at least in Europe, companies always ask for a degree, so you do it for the papers. Yeah, but you can ask for it, Dennis. As I always say, look, pick any job description. You probably guys have not seen how I talk about how to apply for jobs. You can say that they ask, yeah, but look, every job spec is a wish list. Anything listed in a job requirement is a wish list. They're looking, most of the time, they're looking for unicorns. I talk about how to communicate with hiring managers, how to make a network. And, you know, last 2 jobs, I have never applied for them. They came to me because I built a personal brand. I network. I built, you know, my LinkedIn, I got 21,000 connections. You know, LinkedIn brought me so much opportunities because I consistently provide value and information to all of my network connections. Recruiters find me because I have a good bio, I have a good profile. So, you know, you have to stand out from the crowd. It's up to you how do you achieve it. If you're going to become good enough, nobody's going to care that you don't have a degree. Lyricson says, do you think having a home lab, self-study, and get an HND BTEC level 5 would be a better blend? No. I mean, the first 2 is really good. Home lab, self-study, yes. But you don't need HND BTEC. You need Security Plus. That's what you need. Is it better to use Kali virtually or dual boot? It doesn't matter, HR. As long as you've got enough RAM to run it virtually on your VirtualBox, virtually it's fine. Because if you're going to do dual boot, the problem is when you do dual boot, that means you only have Kali. Where are you going to get all the other vulnerable machines? Where are you going to attack with Kali? You can't attack, you know, someone else because you're breaking the law. What other home labs for? How you put it on my resume? Well, obviously, you know, you put a link to your GitHub on your resume. You explain what you've done with the projects that you've built on your resume. Home labs are for acquiring skills. You know, that's the most important thing. You know, home labs allows you to learn the necessary skills required for the job, because all the certificates is going to teach you the theory, the skills, the understanding, how to prioritize, how to build analytics to detect attacks, how to configure security tools. That's the most important thing in the home labs. That's why you do it. Would you think can help me in securing a cybersecurity job, since you said a degree is not worth it? A great portfolio, Emmy. It's about getting Security Plus, building a home lab, and having a great portfolio to showcase that you actually understand cybersecurity. You actually have the skills. You know, I always say, like, people building various kind of projects, going above and beyond, building tools. For example, you know, I've seen one guy build a tool that detects cloud misconfigurations and provides a list of, you know, what's the most vulnerable problems in your cloud environment. No, that's a great thing to show your future employers. That's what makes people, you know, to notice you. What's the path to SOC? Is it important to be good in networking? Well, you definitely need to learn networking to a certain extent, Yax. But the whole SOC path, it's in my YouTube. So again, jump in my bio description. There's a link to my YouTube. Go in there, you'll find there's a full roadmap about SOC analyst. Peacemaker, can I study cybersecurity along with an auto engineering career? You probably can, but again, it's going to be very time consuming if you want to do, you know, 2 kind of things in separate fields at once. But yeah, nobody says that you can't. What I really, we already answered that. Where can you get labs from, Kuro? Kuro, you don't need to get labs from anywhere. You build labs yourself on your laptop. As I said, using virtualization, that's how you do. You build your home labs. There is not something that you just go and, you know, and get labs from somewhere. You build home labs yourself. How often do you go live? I go every Monday and Wednesday most of the time live. So similar kind of times, around 7 p.m. UK time, every Monday and Wednesday. How many home lab? Well, you only need one home lab, Naz. But what you do with that home lab, you know, there are a number of projects. But I would say, you know, a proper good 5 projects that does 5 different things and proper documentation with proper step-by-step explanation, screenshots, explaining what you did, why you did, explaining that you really understand what you did. So, you know, it could be, you know, one could be, for example, just a simple attack, but then, for example, you know, explain, go beyond that. You know, you've done an attack from Metasploit onto one of the vulnerable machines and you exploited it. Then explain, you know, how the attack looked like from network perspective, looking through a Wireshark screenshots, looking at EDR screenshots, what did the attack look like at endpoint? How did you detect the attack with your SIM in, for example, Wazoo? And then explain, you know, how you prevent those attacks from happening in the future. What kind of rule you would build in a SIM to prevent these attacks? How would you configure an EDR? That's just one project. Next project, for example, do vulnerability assessment, but then go above and beyond. Categorize vulnerabilities not by only CVSS score, but the risk you think they would pose, how and what you would patch. You know, think of theoretical scenario. Which of the vulnerabilities are exploitable in this environment and not? What kind of security controls the company might have had? You know, that's 2 projects. You know, and then go from there. You can add many more. Yes, Mizumi, as I mentioned, that's a SOC analyst home lab. Kali Linux, Security Onion, or Wazoo, both are interchangeable, but Security Onion probably is even better because it has more blue team security tools. But you need Wazoo agent to drop it on an endpoint. And then any vulnerable machine from OneHub. That's your... Medina, do you speak Polish? No, I do not. I am not Polish. Close though. Neighbors, but not Polish. I'm about to start getting my cybersecurity CT. Good stuff. Do you think a SOC role is worth it anymore because of AI? Yes, it is. I always say, Tweak, look, SOC is not disappearing. The only thing which I'm saying, AI is replacing SOC tier 1 analysts. So you can still go into tier 2. The only thing is that obviously it requires more skills and more advanced preparation to jump straight into tier 2 instead of tier 1. But SOC is not disappearing. Again, Kurosaki, in my YouTube, there is a full video how to build the home lab, and I shared the best projects to build for the home lab. So watch the full video and you're going to learn, Kurosaki, all of that. Okay, if I can't study online, what should I... You can study online, the geek. You just can't work remotely. I think I don't remember what we talked about, but you can definitely study online. Schwabi, I got a mate who's a black hat. Ah, good stuff. Good to know. Should I build experience through project or training to get a certificate first? You should get a certificate first. Don't waste your money on ISC2. Watch, as I said, Professor Messer, depending on your previous technology experience. If you got 0 tech experience, watch A+ videos. Network Plus videos, then do Security Plus certificate. Don't touch ISC2. Everyone says it's free. It's not. You still need to pay $50 to get the certificate. For what? It's pointless. Nobody's asking for ISC2. Look for job specs. Is anyone asking for that certificate? No. Pointless. Because once you've done the theory, then you understand and build experience through labs. You can't do labs without understanding what you're doing. I have Skool labs, does it count, and post them on GitHub? Yeah, of course it counts. As long as you know, if you've done them, you understand, you've done a write-up, you did a proper, explanation, then yeah, of course, HJ. How much time do you spend practicing to get Security Plus? It shouldn't take you more than 4 to 6 weeks to pass Security Plus. And as long as you go through practice exams, then yeah. Can I ask you a question live? What do you mean? Like you want to come on? You can ask 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, of course. Hello, hello, Kingsley. Hello. Are there part-time cybersecurity jobs? It doesn't come up often, but yeah, potentially. Especially, there are jobs that, I guess when you go freelancing, when you build enough experience, that's kind of part-time. I have labs that are currently 20,000 lines of code and docs covering 5 domains, 12 plus certs. Am I ready? You're more than ready, 𝐶𝐽. I think that's proper overkill, but you should have got a job long time ago. But yeah, you're definitely ready. Yeah, no problem, Naz. No problem. I'm registered in university for cybersecurity. What do you suggest I do to get a job easy? Nothing you can do, Emmy, that you're going to get a job easy. But you definitely, alongside university, you need to acquire your skills. So build a home lab, build understanding, and do extra above and beyond what you're going to learn in university. Because university is not going to prepare you skills-wise. Levi Ekra says, I'm done with my cybersecurity, but diploma, now apply for attachment. I don't know what you should expect. I'm studying in uni in September. Any advice? Build a home lab, Jack. That's the most important thing that you need to do. There is no exact videos. Watch the full playlist of Network Plus, Kingsley. Tweak, appreciated it. Is SOC a good place to start to progress to AWS Cloud Engineer? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a good place to start. Plus, have a look at my YouTube tweak. I've got the full cloud security engineering roadmap in there as well. Any specific IAM vendor you advise studying, Javier says. Yes, I will look at either Okta or SailPoint. But I see a lot of job adverts for SailPoint IAM specialists. So I would have a look at, I think SailPoint has its own certificates, Javier. Or would you go straight to cloud engineer instead of going so? I probably would go straight to cloud tweak. It's obviously, it's a longer roadmap and it requires a lot more skills. But if you're going to persevere, again, have a look at my full cloud security roadmap. It requires a bit more certs, a bit more knowledge, but you can go straight to cloud engineering too. AJ, yeah, no problem, AJ. I got Sec Plus in 6 days, 0 IT at the time. Okay, yeah, good stuff. Looks like you got a good head on your shoulders, CloudSec. Do you personally go to university? Did that help in any bit? I went to university, but as I said, Lyricson, I went to university after 7 years. I already been in cybersecurity, and I think it was absolute waste of money and time. I would have, if I had to do it again, I would never do. I did master's degree. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, no problem, Tweak. Okay, with that thing in mind, hour is up. So, as always, guys, it was a real pleasure answering your questions and hopefully helping and guide you in your journey. I'm going to have to love you and leave you because I'm going to go watch my team play football. Guys, have a wonderful evening. If you haven't watched, watch my roadmap videos. Explore the path that I explained in those videos. But remember, guys, there's a lot of lies being told about cybersecurity. There's a lot of misinformation. You know, you're not going to get six-figure salary after doing one certificate. Cybersecurity is really hard. But if you apply yourself, if you work your ass off, you can get into cybersecurity in 2026. And I believe in you. And that's why I try to help you and provide you answers. But you guys have to work your ass off and you have to stand out from the crowd. Just doing one cert, doing a boot camp or degree is not enough. So keep grinding, guys. I believe in you and have a great evening, and we'll catch on my next live.